Somebody asked me if I believe if there's evil in the world. Well, I don't believe that there's something external that's evil. But I think we should acknowledge that human nature is not always preserving life. It's not always our drive, our natural drive to preserve life. It can at times be our natural drive to destroy and neglect life. And this video demonstrates what I'm thinking about. This is a tiger stalking a herd of some kind of deer. And the deers are running away. And one of them is the weakest. And most likely these deers know that about each other. They know which one is the weakest and they get away from that one. And the weakest deer in this scene, of course, gets killed by the tiger. It gets sacrificed, basically, in a way. It was running, you can see it in the images, it was running more or less alone. And that's what I mean in this indirect, neglect type of killing that individuals, that most animals do. Most animals get away. If you have a herd of zebras, there's another video about that. Every zebra starts running, but there's one that is kind of confused and a little bit dazed, and he becomes the victim. I would say that if that happens 1,000 times in a herd, time and time again, every day that they're on the savannah and they're walking around, these animals all know perfectly well which one is the weakest. And you see that in all other types of animal social contexts, which one is the weakest, and don't show your weaknesses. Why? Because your weakness will pre-program the other individuals to get away from you and make sure that you're the victim once there's a predator. Now, humans, I think that works in a very destructive way in this world, because the world is somewhat too big for us to include in our own pride, let's say, our own herd or whatever, mentally. So there's lots of areas that are outside it, and if somebody in the news tells us that birds are dying in Madagascar, we don't care. We may care a little bit if we are bird watchers, but there's even a little positive side on that if we hear that type of news, because we know there's somewhere there's destruction, and it's not in our midst, it's not in our home that these dangers are occurring. And because if there is a threat directly to us, you can be sure that we respond. If this tiger would walk on the savannah and it would look straight at us and choose us as a victim, then the sky will be the limit for us to defend ourselves. We will put up a fight. If it's the guy next to us, it looks to, and it's sure that it's going to kill him, we'll get out of the way. That's our defense mechanism. It's natural. And you can see that in the fight against terrorism, where we give millions to Homeland Security, billions to Homeland Security, to fight a chance of 1 in a million or once in 2 million that we may die in some kind of bomb explosion or something. Or we see it when we look at flight safety. Of course, airplanes have to be safe. And there's the safest thing on earth, because we've been spending millions and millions to make them safe. Because it can be us, and the airlines cannot sell a product where it says you might be the victim. That's not going to work. But if we hear about a plane crash in Russia, then we think, oh well, there's just sloppy mechanics, I guess, and we move on. It's not a problem. And that's actually pretty evil, in my opinion. That's actually the source of what we call evil. If we, and me too, of course, we curse the banking system or financiers or usury or moneylenders to be evil. They're not evil. They're just some people with a very strong sense of who's their pride, who's their group, and who doesn't belong to that group, and who's the weakest. And if somebody is weak, then they say, okay, that one has to cross. It has to go. It has to suffer, and that's justified. And that's the evil I think does exist in the world.